I feel like a real life YouTuber right now. Like a little sit down vibe and everything. Like it's a whole vibe. It really is. Welcome to my channel. I feel like such a YouTuber. Like I really want to say, like, subscribe, follow if you're new here. But I know everyone's new, so that's that. I really want to say that though, but I can't because everyone's new. But I have tried to record this video about like 5 times in the past 3 years. Like I've always wanted to start a YouTube channel, and I would record the episode and I would never post it. Like I never edit, I never post it. I would watch it, I'd be like, oh my fucking god, don't do that ever again in your life. And so I would never post it. But I think now that I'm starting to get over the social anxiety and like all of the things, which I'll explain a little later in the video, I'm actually at a place where I want to start this. I want to do this. So my name is Ashaya. I am 21 years old. I'll be 22 in September. Shout out to all the Virgos. We love that. I live in Las Vegas. I am from Michigan, Flint, and surrounding areas to be exact. I moved to Las Vegas 4 months ago-ish, 4 or 5 months ago. I am back and forth from Nevada to Michigan all the time. So I lived here when I was 11 through 15, and then I've been in Michigan for the remainder of my life. So like I just traveled back and forth. I moved out here for a very specific reason, and I will let you guys know that a little later on in the video. But this video is kind of like just the basis of this channel. I want to tell you about my story. I want to tell you about why I'm doing what I'm doing and how I'm doing what I'm doing. And so without further ado, let's jump into this. If you don't have a hydro jug, you need one. Hydro jug, if you're watching this, sponsor me. Please sponsor me. So, first and foremost, I am a mental health advocate. I have decided to do this journey probably around a year ago, but I didn't know where to start. So I knew I wanted to do something with mental health, but I didn't know how to start, where to start, when to start. And so I started a website. It's called Distress and Sweats. It's a whole brand. I started that probably around 2-3 months ago now, maybe 2 months ago. I have a website. I will link that in the description. I have a podcast where I talk about mental health and my journey. I have been going on this mental health, self-love, healing journey for almost, I think it started about 6 months ago, but it really did not take full effect until I moved to Nevada 4 months ago. But over time, I'll kind of explain like how all that went. And I started this platform, this mental health advocacy situation that I have going on because last year I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression. I have different forms of anxiety, one of them being social anxiety, and then I have not been fully diagnosed, but I have a little bit of OCD in there, as my therapist does say. I have a little bit of OCD. It is what it is. It's not something that's like super detrimental, but it is there, and so I'm very aware of it. I'm very aware of how because OCD is different in everybody, but I'm aware of like what my type of OCD is, and I have been very successful in combating it. And so I've always known that I've had mental health illnesses and problems since I was probably like 10 years old, but I didn't know what exactly it was. I didn't know why it was the way that it was, and why I reacted the way I do react to things, and how bad my coping mechanisms were until about a year ago, when I was around the time I was diagnosed. And growing up, it really wasn't talked about. Like, I had never heard of mental health. I had never heard of, healthy mental behaviors, self-care, self-love until probably around my junior, maybe year of high school, which is crazy because these things are so important. But like, I was never taught any of these skills. I was never taught about mental health because it's not taught in school, and it's really not talked about amongst a lot of people. So, how would you know? But I think I like got a really big burst of like depressive spurts around that time, so like junior year of high school, where I would literally just lie in bed all day, sleep all day, and I just really didn't want to do anything. But I just thought it was like, you know, me being a teenager. Like, it is what it is. Like, I didn't know that there was a problem there. And then after that, it kind of was like a downhill spiral, so to speak. I think that it became a problem around a year and a half, 2 years ago, where there's some things that transpired, things that happened that I don't really remember because I think I tried to forget them, that I was getting these panic attacks. My first one ever, my first panic attack was actually middle school. And no, it was actually high school, my freshman year of high school, and I don't know why I had a panic attack. All I know is that I could not breathe, and I was hyperventilating. Mom was like, you need to lay on the floor and breathe. And I didn't know what it was, but then every year after that, I would have a massive panic attack. There was one time in my life where I did not eat for like a week and a half because, and it sounds so crazy now thinking about it, but I thought I had, my head was hurting for days, and I thought I had a brain tumor. Don't know why. The hypochondriac in me, I don't know, but I just fell into a depressive episode, and so I did not eat for a week and a half. I lost so much weight. My mom took me to the doctor, and they're like, you need to eat or like your organs are gonna shut down. Like, you need to eat. And so I started forcing myself to eat, and like, you know, obviously I felt better, but like, you know, I just didn't have the motivation to eat. I didn't have the motivation to do anything. I was actually taking NyQuil little tablets around that time so I could just go to sleep and just not think about anything, which is crazy to think about. Like, I was literally in high school and I was doing this. It was either middle school or high school, and I was doing this, and I'm like, but I didn't think about it. Like, I didn't think like that was mental health. I just thought it was, I don't know what I thought actually, but it wasn't healthy. And then high school came around, and high school was interesting for me. Like, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't good at the same time. Obviously that's when you kind of like try to find yourself a little bit. Like, you get more interested in guys, or in some people's cases like girls, you know, whatever. You just get interested in people, you start liking people, dating people, and then people kind of disappoint you. And I've always like felt like people disappointed me so much, and time again, even when I was just like the best that I could be for them. Like, I've always felt like, you know, no one loved me, no one liked me. And then senior year of high school, I met my ex-boyfriend now, but my, you know, boyfriend at the time, I guess. And we were together for 3.5 years. And I think looking back on that relationship, like, it taught me a lot about me mentally, because I assumed that, okay, this guy, we've been together for a long time, this person I'm gonna be with for the rest of my life. I don't want anybody else. I'm gonna start acting like wifey so he knows that I'm all in. Like, you know, make him lunches, cook him dinner, do his laundry, do all this type of stuff. We moved in together as well. We had a dog. It was his dog, but we had a dog. Coco. His name was Coco. I'm not gonna drop any names besides the dog's name, so like, I'm not a name dropper. So when I talk about things and people, like, I'm not gonna say any names because I'm not an exposing person like that. So and life was, I thought that's what it was gonna be, and I was noticing that I was having these battles with myself. I'm like, oh, I want to get married, but I'm like, oh, I'm too young to get married. I don't want to get married, because like, I met him when I was 17. We broke up when I was 20 going on 21. So I'm like, oh, I want to get married. I'm like, nah. Like, oh, I want to have kids. Nah. And I just kept going back and forth with myself. And being the person that I am, I'm very open about my like thought process, especially with if I trust you. And so like, I was explaining these things to him, and he probably thought I was crazy. He didn't say it. Like, I'm sure he did. Sorry. I'm so sorry. And so I was going back and forth with myself, but that's because a lot of my friends or people that I went to school with were having kids. They were getting married, and I'm just over here like, well, if they're doing it, maybe I should do it too. Like, what am I doing? I was in college at the time as well. He was in college as well. And so I think I'm very like passionate, and like my passion kind of like comes off as aggression. It's a Kevin Gates song, I promise it is. And so I think like I was more passive aggressive about these type of things than anything. Like, we need to get married, we need to have kids. we need to have him by this year and do this by this time. And like, I just had structured my life because that's just how I thought it was going to be. Like, I would needed a plan. I would needed a plan in life. I would need to plan out my life. And like, I'm just like, well, you know, I'm good now. I found a guy, so now everything else is just gonna fall in place. I'm gonna get a degree, I'm gonna have a kid, I'm gonna get married, like, it's gonna be great. And I'm gonna do all this before I'm like 30. Perfect. And I think I stressed myself. I know I stressed that man out. Because I stressed myself out because there were times where I'm thinking these things and I'm like, bro, like, this is kind of stressful. Like, this is a lot of pressure. And I was like putting pressure, and I thought it was like society and my family and other people putting pressure on me, but it was actually myself putting pressure on me. And I stressed myself out. Like, there were times where I'm like, bro, if I don't chill out, I'm going to have a heart attack at the age of 35. I promise. I'm gonna have a heart attack very, very soon. Because I was just stressed all the time. And then it came to an end about around this time last year, my relationship. So 3.5 years. And I was like crushed. I was crushed because I didn't know who I was without this relationship. Like, I didn't have an identity because I made my identity around this relationship, which is not a good idea at all. So bad. You should really know yourself before you get into a relationship with anybody. And I was crushed. I didn't know what to do. I got so bad into like depression and anxiety that there were points in time where I was just literally, I would call off to work because I didn't feel like going in. I would think of excuses, most random excuses, try not to do anything that had to do with life in general. Like, I literally just sit there and like, I'm just like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. I don't want to do anything. And like, it took up about a month of my life. And I think one day I woke up and I'm like, bro, this is not right. Something's really, really wrong. Like, I'm having all these thoughts and things of that nature. Like, you know, the thoughts. I don't want to really come out and say it. Like, not that I'm ashamed of it because I know people go through this, but like, I don't want it to be like a thing to speak on, I guess, just because those things are sad. But I did have those depressive thoughts and thoughts of not being here and just letting everything go and letting life go. And I know a lot of people do struggle with that, and that's why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. And so I called my doctor. I'm like, hey, this is not right. She wanted to put me on medication right away. I'm like, no, I don't want to be on medication. I know it does help some people. I just don't like taking medications. And it's probably because I'm a pharmacy technician. So I just did not want to be on medication. I'm like, I want to try therapy. So we got in to see a therapist. And the first like visit, it wasn't horrible. It was like all online. And so we were video chatting just due to COVID. And it wasn't horrible at all. And she was like, oh yeah, you know, you might have some anxiety or depression. I think it wasn't until the third visit where she's like, you have anxiety and depression and you really need help, because I actually opened up to her my third visit, because I don't open up to people that I don't know like that, especially about things that go on in my head. Like, I'm very insecure about that. And so I finally opened up to her and told her about, you know, my non-willingness to live and the thoughts I was having, the lack of motivation I was having in things, and the things that used to bring me joy that don't bring me joy anymore. Like, nothing brings me joy. Like, and just a little sub fact, like, yes, we broke up, but then also like 2 weeks later, the dog that we had taken care of together had died. And I watched that, and it was just very traumatic for me to watch him die. He had a seizure, and like blood was gushing out of his nose and everything. It was very traumatic. So I think that's what just kind of like pushed me over the edge. And I did get this tattoo because it is a reminder of the dog and like the things that I went through and like the mental state that I was in around that time. And like, it's kind of a reminder of the dog, and it's also a reminder that I just never want to go back to that place ever again, because that was a very dark place in my life. And so it's kind of like a reminder just to keep pushing and to do what I'm doing and to know that I'm on the right track. So the little side note. But she recommended, she's like, I know you don't want to take medication, but it might be beneficial for right now, and then you can get off of it when you're feeling better. And so I willingly agreed, And so I got in to see the psychiatrist, and we talked. He was like, I'm gonna put you on, I was on Zoloft, which is sertraline. So Zoloft, sertraline, same active ingredient there, just one's generic, one's brand name. And so I was on that for about maybe like 5-6 months, and then I weaned off myself because I was feeling at that point in my life where I'm like, okay, I want to cope with the demons that I have. I want to, go through all of this with a clear head, clear system. I don't want anything hindering my emotions, my feelings, anything. I really want to take this mental illness head on without anything. So I weaned off myself. I did not tell my therapist or psychiatrist because I was moving at the time as well. I didn't tell them that I was weaning off. I am a pharmacy tech, so I asked my pharmacist the best way to wean off. And so they let me know, and I did the exact thing they told me to do. So I weaned off safely. And ever since then, I have been taking this mental illness head on and trying to go through this self-love, mental health healing journey to find myself and to become the person that I'm meant to be, and kind of like battle the demons that I have in my head and help myself, I guess. And then I did this platform because I'm like, there are people out here that are struggling probably even way worse than what I'm struggling with and like what I'm doing. Because there are people who have attempted to take their own life. There are people who have been in psych wards and things like that, and they don't feel like themselves. And I was like, I really want to document my journey. I want to kind of like just be a mental health advocate, because there are so many people out there that, because it's not talked about, so there's so many people out here that are battling these things by themselves. And I know for me, like, I finally came out to my family about like what I've been battling, because I didn't tell anybody about the things, and it was the hardest thing in my life to do because I just didn't want any backlash or any negative thoughts or anything like that. But they have been very supportive, and I know people don't have that. They don't have that support. They don't have people they can go and talk to, and so that's really why I made Distress and Sweats. Distressed because I am distressed, and Sweats because I actually love sweatpants. Like, I would rather just wear sweatpants all day, but I don't. And so that's where the name came up with. And so that's why I'm doing this, to document my journey and to help others to either continue with their journey, even if it's hard, or to start their journey, and to love yourself, love who you are, embrace who you are, find who you are. And that is going to change your life, and to help people have better coping skills and kind of like help them mentally, with whatever they have going on inside their head. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so that's kind of like the basis of this YouTube channel. And my website, my podcast is more based on mental health. This YouTube channel is gonna be more about just documenting my journey and what it looks like, and what my day-to-day looks like, what my week looks like, little sit-down chats, Q&As like this. And yeah, that's about it. So I'm very hopeful that I actually record this, edit it, and then post it, and we'll just see where it goes. But please, if you're interested in all of this, if you want to see what things look like for me, if you want to see how I am going on my journey, trying to like get like tips and tricks and things like that, please please subscribe. I would love for you to subscribe and be on this journey and be a part of the Distress gang with me, and we can help each other out. I would love the feedback, comments, like things of that nature. I really want to build a community, an open community where people can come and talk about their mental illnesses, get help, get tricks and tips that they can use, and just be better as a community with mental health and the stigma that surrounds it. And so that's really what I want to try to create here, and just kind of just be like a voice for people who have lost their voice due to them taking their own life, or who don't have a voice and are struggling and need someone. Please use any of my social medias, use any of my outlets that I have to reach out to me if you need some help or just need someone to talk to. I'm always here. My door's always open because I do understand. And so that is it. But please subscribe, like, follow, do whatever you have to do. My social media, everything's gonna be linked down below. And I love you guys, I do. Please drink your water, please take time for self-care and all of that good jazz.